from RTO here. Welcome to a very special retro ranking. Um, this is another of those retro rankings that was going to be on the cards, but fortunately it was brought to the fold because sadly this is Steve Harley, who we lost on the 17th of March. Well, Steve Harley was born Stephen Malcolm Ronald Nice. Would never. Stephen Nice doesn't have the. Stephen Nice and the Cockney Rebel just haven't got that ring, has it? He was born on the 27th of February 1951 and, as I said, sadly passed away of cancer on the 17th of March, aged 73. What can we say about his career? Some great songs. Number one, big hit. When he finished with music, he went and lived in a little village called Clare in Suffolk, which is on the border with Essex, and he lived there with his good lady Dorothy, who had been married since 1981. He was in his later years. He was involved in racehorse ownership, and that's what he did his pastime until his death. He announced in December of 2023 that he was suffering from cancer, and the good thing is he died at home. So he left us with some absolutely brilliant songs. Now there's a lot of people that all they remember Steve Harley for is the obvious one, which we'll talk about, but there was more to Steve Harley and the Cockney Rebel than one song. So here we are. This was tough because there are so many good ones, and I whittled it down, and I've left some off that I didn't want to leave off, but it was just a tough one to do. So here we go. So coming in at number 10. Now this is a single from 1974, and it was a Cockney Rebel song, and it got to number 8, and it is Mr. Soft. Now I've always liked this. I think it's quirky, and it's got a sort of a bounce to it. Steve's vocals are great. I remember this in the charts actually, and it has always been a sort of quirky little boppy number, and I think that's why you remember it if you're a big fan of Steve Harley, because it's just got that bounce to it, and it always makes you feel happy and jolly and type things, and I really like that song. And that's why it got in my top 10. It is one of my favourite songs. Okay, coming in at number 9, we go to the album, not the Psychomodo, sorry, that came out in 1974. It's a Cockney Rebel album, and it's called Cavaliers. Okay, it's got some rather inappropriate words for this time, but it's just a brilliant song. Very glam rocky sort of sound. I love the harmonica and the saxophone in it. It's got all them elements of a little glam rock track. Really good track. If you've never heard that one, go and check that one out. Well, you will be, because all these songs today are going in the playlist, even the honourable mentions, because it's just very special. Okay, number 8, again from 1974, a really busy year for Cockney Rebel, and this was a single they released, and it got to number 5, and it's the brilliant Judy Teen. Great single from Cockney Rebel. The guitars are great. It's just everything that was 1974. Brilliant little track. Okay, number 7. We go to 1975 now, and now they're called Steve Harley and the Cockney Rebel. And this is a track from their great album, Best Years of Our Lives, and it's the Mad Mad Moonlight. Great track off this album. One of those little tracks that, unless you've heard the album, you wouldn't get anything. It's got that sort of Roxy music feel to it as well, and this is the sort of poppy glam that was going around. I do love this track. One of the best tracks on the album, as I've said. Okay, coming in at number 6. Move on a little bit now to 1978, and this is a track off one of Steve's solo albums, and it's called the album's called Hobo with Gin, and it's a little track called Living in Rhapsody. It's a lovely song, one of the best songs on his solo albums. The backing vocals and the strings just make this a perfect all-round song, and it's a fine vocal from Steve. It's something different from his Cockney Rebel days. It's just a really, really nice song. Okay, coming in at number 5. Now this one I discovered on a sort of like an anthology sort of album I picked up, and it's from 2010, and it's an album called Stranger Comes to Town, and the track's actually called Before They Crash. I first heard this though on Radio 2. I think it was on Ken Bruce, and I thought that sounds like Steve Harley, and when he said, oh, this is the new song from Steve Harley as well. So yeah, and when I was so glad it appeared on this compilation I've got. It's absolutely brilliant. It's just a real strong song. Okay, coming in at number 4, we've got another track off a Steve Harley solo album. The album's called The Candidate, and the track is actually called Love on the Rocks. What I like about this one is it's got some really nice guitar tones, a gentle drum shuffle in the background, great vocal from Steve. He put in some great vocals in, even on his solo stuff. It's a fantastic track. Okay, top 3. This is tough. Well, the whole ranking was. So, number 3, 1976 now. Now, this is a Steve Harley and the Cockney Rebel song. It was released as a single, only got to number 41, but it's called I Believe Love's a Prima Donna. Great track. Very underrated track. Should have done more. I just think it's so quirky, and I can't believe this didn't get higher, because it was a very good song. It's why it's my number 3. Okay, my number 2. Now, this will people will probably be shocked, and they'll go, "Oh, why isn't this your number 1?" Well, it's from 1975. Steve Harley and the Cockney Rebel. Number 1. It's the brilliant "Make Me Smile, Come Up and See Me." Classic, very popular song. It is overplayed now, but it's still a brilliant song. I love it. Absolutely love this song. Remember it at number 1. Remember him on Top of the Pops with his furry sort of coat. It is a classic song from the 70s. Okay, but my number 1 comes from 1973. Got released, did not chart in the UK. Got to number 2 in the Netherlands, and it's just by the Cockney Rebel, and it's the brilliant Sebastian. There is just something about this. The strings are wonderful, and it's that mixture of part glam rock, part prog rock sound, all rolled into one song. And I think this was the best vocal that Steve Harley ever did. It's just a fantastic song, and that's why I think it just edges make me smile. But that was a real popular pop song. This was just one of them deep cut tracks that released a single, but it should have done more. It's a very popular track for the fans, and that's why it's my number 1. It's just an incredible song. Okay, I've got some honourable mentions here. Can't leave them else. And the first one's from 1976, and it was featured on the instrumentals with Richard. It's one of Richard's, and it's side track 2 from 1976. Steve Harley and the Cockney Rebel of Love's a Prima Donna. Great instrumental. It's got no guitars in this, of course. It's just a wonderful piece of music. The strings are wonderful, and it is a great track. And Richard had it in his top 10, and I couldn't leave this out either, because it's just a fantastic piece of music. Okay, staying with 1976, this was a top 10 hit for Steve Harley and Cockney Rebel. and it's their version of the Beatles' Here Comes the Sun. It's a little bit more upbeat, bit disco-y, poppy sound, and I think it did very well, and I do remember this, and it's a good version of it as well. And my last one today, we go back to 1975. It was a single, did not chart. You know, 75 he gets a #1, releases another track, and it didn't chart. And it's Steve Harley and the Cockney Rebel, and it's a great little track called Black or White. It's a great song. People forget about this. This is just full of emotion. It's a well-structured song, and I just love it. People just... it's amazing that people just remember Steve Harley and the Cockney Rebel for one song, but the rest of their albums are absolutely brilliant, and we will be doing a full ranking of Steve Harley. Sort of a mini sort of story, because we'll do Cockney Rebel, Steve Harley and the Cockney Rebel, and Steve Harley. So we'll just scatter it through the year. That is just a great song, Black or White. Okay, there we go. That's my little tribute to Steve Harley. May he rest in peace, and thank you for some of these great songs that you were involved with. Okay, that's all for today. Tomorrow is Marathon Day, and we got a prog Marathon Day tomorrow. We're going to have a look at one of the great bands, very underrated band from the Canterbury scene of prog, and it's the wonderful Caravan. We made some, you know, they're all remembered for one album, but they had some fantastic albums. So that's who we got tomorrow. So have a great day, everyone. Bye for now.